Ambassador Feinstein, thank you for that kind, splendid introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, dear friends, it is an honor to join you all here this evening to recognize such a remarkable group of honorees. I am particularly delighted to introduce our first awardee tonight, Tunisian President Monsev Marzuki, who is accepting a Freedom Award on behalf of the people of Tunisia. Of course, presidents have very difficult schedules, particularly presidents of nations in transition. I know something about it. President Marzuki was not able to join us in person this evening. We will, however, be able to enjoy his remarks via video message. To the people of Tunisia, President Marzuki is far more than a head of state. He is personification of their brave fight for democracy, a fight that sparked a historic wave of change throughout North Africa and the Middle East. Because long before being elected president in December of 2011, President Marzuki was one of them, a physician who dedicated his life to human rights and political activism. An active organizer of many key human rights institutions in Tunisia, Marzuki faced constant harassment from the Ben Ali regime as his determination and courage threatened the government's corrupt rule. Yet, even after being arrested several times for his political dissidence, he did not shy away from standing up the Tunisian authorities. President Marzuki was forced into exile in 2002 after his political party, the Congress for the Republic, was banned by the regime. However, his exile to Paris did not impede his fight for a democratic Tunisia. He remained an unspoken critic of the autocratic government, using social media to stay connected with other activists. Meanwhile, the citizens of Tunisia had had enough. One young man in particular, a bright young vegetable seller with a university degree, expressed his frustration by setting himself on fire as a final desperate attempt to exhibit his free will. Clearly, enough was enough. The citizens of Tunisia knew it was time to take a stand. They fearlessly united against the government and in early 2011 overthrew the Ben Ali regime. At such a fragile moment for Tunisia's stability, citizens needed a leader they could trust to put the country's well-being before his own interests. President Marzuki had dedicated his entire life to the achievement of this very moment, making him the perfect person to take on the daunting task. Perhaps the most impressive part of the Tunisian revolution, there are many, is the influence it has had on the rest of North Africa and the Middle East. Oppressed societies have witnessed Tunisia's incredible transition and now know that such a triumph is possible. This triumph of freedom over corruption, democracy over autocracy, would not have been possible without the bravery of the Tunisian people. They have proven to the world that citizens have the power to make their governments accountable for their citizens' human rights. This was an unprecedented accomplishment in the region and has beaten a path of revolution in countries where the world never thought it would see democracy. While the path remains bumpy, the past year has witnessed remarkable transition in North Africa and the Middle East. And the democratic electoral process is already being overwhelmingly embraced by citizens in Tunisia, Egypt and Libya. Tunisia's coalition government proves what can be achieved when political parties put citizens' needs first and cooperate for the betterment of society. Recent Egyptian elections encouraged people to vote for the very first time in their lives, finally knowing that their vote would count. And in Libya, millions have already registered to vote in anticipation of an upcoming election. One of the other great victories of the Arab awakening has been the explosion of a flourishing civil society in a region where it had previously been forced into the margins of society, if it even exists at all. By working directly with these local organizations, the US and Europe can revitalize their development cooperation with the region. And while there have been so many triumphs, there is still much to be done. The challenge now is to ensure that these new democracies are supported by strong economies. The United States and Europe must rise to meet this challenge, for the success of this remarkable transition will be lost if the people who fought so bravely are denied the opportunity to participate in a growing economy and improve their education systems and infrastructures. Dear friends, that is why evenings such as these are so important. We must remember that this is only the beginning. The fight for freedom is long and we cannot grow tired. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Let me now bring your attention to the screen for the important video from the Tunisian President, Marzouk.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Khan, it gives me great pleasure today to convey to you on my own behalf and that of the Tunisian people my warmest thanks and sincere gratitude for offering me the 2012 Atlantic Council Freedom Award. Your kind and generous gesture is but a resounding tribute to the unabated Tunisian people's struggle for freedom and to its endeavors to be emancipated from the throes of oppression and the failed attempts of a stifling aspiration to dignity, justice and progress. As a human rights activist who once was persecuted and forced to exile for the defense of my ideals of freedom, dignity and equity, I came to learn that the price to be paid for the materialization of this noble objective is certainly high, that the task, though painful and tenuous, is profoundly uplifting and rewarding. As you know, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, human rights advocates, together with the resilient Tunisian people, had suffered for decades from a dictatorial power, a corrupt economic system that relentlessly sought to annihilate their forces and dash their hopes for progress and prosperity. Yet because human mind cannot tolerate endlessly a state of unbearable oppression, because the aspiration to justice ran deep into the Tunisians' hearts, conditions were ripe to soak the flame of my country's revolt. Mohamed Bouaziz's last desperate act of self-immolation is but an indication that deprivation and the cry for dignity and emancipation cannot remain forever unheard. Today, Tunisia has just ushered into a new era where economic and political development, as well as the renewed commitment to the core values of openness, tolerance, and hard work are its catchwords. Our accomplishments along the path of reformist strategy, despite a relatively short period of time, are of similar importance. Suffice it to mention, in this regard, the various milestones underscored in matters of democratization, such as the October transparent and fair elections, which brought about a National Constituent Assembly in charge of drafting a new constitution and initiating the reform of the institutions. We have likewise set up the various mechanisms that would entail the deep restructuring of the judiciary, the economic, as well as the media sectors. Our sole ambition is to lay the basis of political pluralism that guarantees wide popular participation while enshrining in the present and future generation of Tunisians the respect of diversity, the conformity of the universal principle of human rights, and the necessary pacific and harmonious coexistence. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Khan, it goes without saying that the difficulties which lie ahead are daunting and the road towards a genuine, balanced and equitable development is fraught with harmless and possible backlashes. Tunisia indeed evolved as an international environment marred by harsh competition and lingering economic hardships. Yet, our resolve is stronger than ever, as we have actually succeeded in doing away with the most ferocious autocracies that our modern world has ever witnessed. We will deploy every effort to succeed in our democratic transition and make out of the Tunisian revolution, which heralded the Arab awakening, a truly positive and inspiring experience. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Camp, while I profoundly treasure the precious token of gratitude and generosity, I sincerely wish for the success to your outstanding organization for its tremendous work in the service of freedom and peace, and express the hope that our endeavors will be up to the expectations you are placing in us and the recognition to which this auspicious ceremony testifies. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Hadi Ben Abbas, Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, in charge of the Americas and Asia, to accept the award on behalf of President Marzuki and the people of Tunisia. Applause.
Thank you all. Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President of Tunisia, His Excellency President Mohammed Marzuqi, and on behalf of the Tunisian people, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this distinguished award granted to the President and to the people at this very special period of our history. I also feel very grateful to the efforts made in order to be recognition to the Tunisian people for the efforts they have made, for the achievements they also have made in order to gain their freedom, and they did pay a dear price for that. Now, it is up to the representatives of this great and courageous people to write a constitution, and in that constitution we wish them to write and to engrave with golden letters the word freedom, which is a central word in our lives. Please be assured that today in Tunisia, democracy is a one-way road. There will be no returning back. Freedom once, freedom twice, freedom thrice will breathe you when you wake up in the morning. We will embrace you all day long. We will feel your warmth when we go to sleep. And whatever may happen, we will always cherish you. Thank you so much.